Welcome to the WED Pro Podcast, the podcast for WED Pros no matter their stage. We are your hosts, Katie and Roxy, and this is the WED Pro Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the WED Pro Podcast. I am your host, Roxy, and this is the place where wedding professionals come for inspiration, tips, real talk about the industry that we all love. From managing clients to building a successful business, we are here to make your journey smooth and more rewarding. Today, I'm thrilled to have an amazing guest on the show, Anshika, the founder and CEO of Eternity, which is a CRM system designed exclusively for wedding pros, helping them tackle the chaos of admin work, which no one likes, and to build a better connection with their clients. We're going to dive into her journey of building Eternity and the lessons that she has learned along the way, and why having a great system can be a total game changer for your business. So welcome to the WED Pro Podcast. It is great to have you here. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for having me, Roxy. It's so great because I think we first met a number of months ago.
We did.
WedCon, and then since then we've remained close, and it's amazing to be here on the podcast. Thank you so much.
And this is why we love networking so much. This is where our business started, but networking is so powerful. We've created such a great connection with each other, helping each other out in business. I literally love it. And here,
absolutely. And not that we're here to talk about it, but just a little shameless plug for LinkedIn. I think it's such an overlooked platform, but I remember first reaching out to Katie on LinkedIn when I heard about WedCon. So that's a little tip for any wedding pros listening. Don't overlook LinkedIn as a powerful channel, because you'd be surprised what you see on there.
Definitely, you need a solid kind of networking strategy, and LinkedIn is absolutely amazing for that. So let's talk a little bit about Eternity, and I want to know it all. Like, where was this born? Tell me.
Do you know what? I think every business starts from some sort of a personal connection and personal experience that you've had. So for me, it ended up being my sister's wedding. So my sister got married in 2020, had a COVID wedding, which meant that things got rearranged 3 or 4 different times. And it was at that point that I really realized that the way that wedding suppliers currently manage their admin is still very much pen to paper, a little bit old-fashioned. Everything happens over WhatsApp. And I could just see my sister, a COVID 2020 bride, just really struggling with the way that suppliers were communicating to her, as well as just managing her own admin. And I think with weddings comes so many different layers. There's that layer of the emotional side, the organizational side, the financial side, and just seeing that and realizing that the wedding industry is absolutely massive. I think we have about 270,000 weddings that take place in the UK every single year, and tons of suppliers, thousands and thousands, and there is just no form of real digitization for that organizational element. So Eternity was actually initially born to fill the gap of South Asian weddings online. So we started off as a South Asian wedding directory, ran successfully, built that community. Of course, Katie, Roxy, you guys know the importance of an incredible community. So we did that. And then the next stage was the CRM side, when we started to understand the problems that both suppliers and couples were having thereafter. So Eternity relaunched as a CRM last year after doing a lot of different data, different types of pivots, different types of focus groups. And I think with every business, it's so important to be consumer driven, which is really at the core of what we do with the event management CRM that we're now building. So we operate as a CRM both for suppliers as well as for couples. Because for us, and for anyone who's watching visually, the way that I see it is that your suppliers sit here, your couples sit here, so on the left and the right, and then the wedding sits in the middle. And you really want everyone to be a part of that, to have all of your stakeholders really seamlessly and easily be able to find things like documentation, wedding notes, wedding itineraries, and that's really what we're born to do.
Yeah. When you were talking then and you spoke about pen to paper, that is so true. We're all very pen to paper, but it is really important to have that paper trail digitalized. And the way that you guys are doing things it's super simple, right?
Absolutely. And you're so right. An audit trail is so important. I know it sounds really boring. Sometimes I find when I talk about the CRM, I go on this admin heavy tangent. Yeah, these things are really boring at times, but they're so important. And so what we want to do is make those boring admin tasks as easy for you to do and for you to manage. So not only will it save you time, it will also increase, hopefully, your conversions, because it's a value add for your customers to see that you have a professional outlay. If they see someone pen to paper in one meeting and then the next meeting is with someone who's using this professional system, which is really easy to manage and understand for them, it's kind of that intangible value where you know that you're doing your clients justice and you have that competitive edge over the others who are also in the industry. So it helps with that. But the biggest thing for us is also just post-event retention and just making sure that you get those repeat bookings, because everyone who's in the wedding industry will understand that we have a new client base every single year, because whoever's got married is hopefully not going to get married again and not going to be your customer again. And so for us, what that means is that we need to constantly be finding ways to either tap into the existing network as wedding businesses, or making it really easy to constantly gather a new network. And I find that loads of wedding businesses I speak to, in the first few years, you have that kind of drive and you're happy to be at those exhibitions every single year. But there's a reason why those businesses who have been around for decades and decades don't need to go to exhibitions. And that's because they've really built that web of networks, which works really strongly for them. So that's really what we're trying to achieve with the CRM as well.
And I think you do it absolutely beautifully. And I think that does come from, you've spent a lot of time pulling this together, make sure it's giving WED pros and couples what they need. And you were saying about you've done a lot of research, you've done a lot of consumer groups. What did you find out? Did you think, okay, this is nothing that I didn't already know? Or was there lots that came up that you thought, oh, okay, like I didn't realize that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think there was an element of things that we already knew. So one thing that we can see through the data is that the wedding industry is made up of a lot of solopreneurs and a lot of SMEs, which does naturally translate to we are all time poor. So we need something that's easy and efficient to use. And then we also knew on the flip side that the consumers, so our clients, were going through a bit of a generational shift where they're no longer millennials. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was Bridebook who released the stat to say that now about 43% of engaged couples are Gen Zers, as opposed to.
And that makes me feel so old.
No, absolutely not. But it's changing, right? The way that Gen Z works. And we always say that we're a platform. I'm Gen Z. So I always say we're a platform built by Gen Z for Gen Z. So ultimately, we want to be at the forefront of bridging that gap and making it as easy so that it doesn't seem like you have to learn a whole new platform or a whole new social media. And it's not algorithm based, because that is my biggest pet peeve. It's literally just something which enables you to tap into that consumer base in a different way, which speaks their language, and also in one that you understand. So I think that was definitely stuff that we already knew. I think some of the things that came out, we didn't realize how much time people spend on admin per week. I do think it's about one full business day a week.
Oh gosh, definitely, if not more. Yeah,
if not more. And I think that was quite a shock to the system. Something that we also knew, but it was just refreshing to kind of hear again, is that everyone is so passionately creative about what they do, that the admin side, unfortunately, was one of the things that was stopping them from wanting to grow their business. So for example, if you hit capacity, so you can only do X amount of weddings per year, a lot of the time you hit that capacity because of the admin side of things, because you realize actually it takes me much longer and my ROI just isn't correct. And I know that you both do a lot of work in this space to ensure that you are actually charging the right kind of prices and it's more value driven and high quality of bookings. But ultimately, also to be able to charge higher quality, you need to have the professional foundation built internally in your business, because that's what's going to translate across. So yeah, those were a couple of different learnings that we got from those focus groups, which were really interesting to see.
Yeah, it is so important to have those foundations of your business set up for when the time comes that it is time to scale, that you've got the tools behind you to be able to do that, so you're not feeling like it's chaotic and that you're overworked and you're overwhelmed by admin. I see this all the time. You hit the nail on the head where you said we are all creatives in this industry and we love that aspect, but what comes secondary to that is the tech side, the admin side, like the business knowledge. And there are totally things out there, just like your service, that can bridge the gap, and like us who kind of support that business element. You literally don't have to do this alone. There's things out there, guys, that can really help you scale your business, so you don't have to stay small, play safe all of the time. Like, you can be as successful as you want to be.
Absolutely.
So a question: why do you think so many wedding business owners do feel overwhelmed by that admin work? Do you think it's just doesn't interest people, or?
Well, I think there's just a lot of it, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think the wedding industry is so nuanced in the way that we're quite different, where you perhaps onboard a client, so you go through the inquiry stage, the proposal stage, sending them documentation, T's and C's, discussing payment plans, all of that stuff. You do all of that on day one for a wedding, which is potentially 12 to 18 months away. And then there's an element of everything that you've discussed in those first few meetings that you need to remember for that event that happens in 12 to 18 months, / when you touch base with the client, perhaps 2 or 3 or 4 months in advance, depending on what kind of a supplier you are. And so we have numerous different touch points, but also numerous different clients. So it's not like how perhaps you and I work in our businesses, Roxy, where, for example, when we have a client that we're onboarding, we can have that conversation and onboard them and then be there as support throughout and have that continued relationship. It's actually a very scattered and fragmented way that suppliers and couples have their conversations for their weddings. And especially where there is peak wedding season, when things start getting really busy, if you don't have things in order from an admin perspective, it feels even more overwhelming because you go straight from inquiry season into wedding season, back into inquiry season, but we're always working about 12 to 18 months behind the actual event schedule date. And I think that's what is the overwhelming thing, that if you are, for example, using pen to paper, I don't think anything on my desk is on my desk since 18 months ago. And so the way that some suppliers will then need to keep that documentation and remember what kind of things it is that them and their clients have discussed, it's hard for anyone, not just for our industry. So I think that is one of the key pieces. That we've also heard some horror stories of some couples who received messages from suppliers a week before their wedding just to say, hey, excited to do your event, we've forgotten or we've lost your notes around the color palette that we're using, do you mind reminding us? And it's things like that where, as we spoke about briefly, the post-event retention, yes, you then have tried to do your admin and it's obviously not worked, whichever system you've currently used for it on process that you have in place. It's now led to a bit of a sour experience for the customer who's not going to come back to you and not going to recommend you. Whilst you've now been paid for that client, you've got the revenue from it, but actually thereafter you've made your task a lot harder and your reputational risk has been tainted a little bit. So I think that's what we really find with the admin side of things and why it is so crucial to get in place, because it is overwhelming. So I don't think that it's that we make it harder than it needs to be. I do think that compared to other industries, the wedding industry is quite nuanced.
And I know it can be difficult from running your business one way, maybe doing it pen to paper, or even having like a little filing system. That's absolutely fantastic. But what could somebody do to help with this first step of getting them more organized in this digital way? Because people probably think they're organized if they have got filing systems, folders, etc. What can they do to then move that online? Like, what's the first step?
Yeah, and I think with anything, it seems daunting and overwhelming, right? Taking that first step.
Yeah, for example, me and Katie are trialing out some new systems in our business.
Yeah.
And she loves Flowdesk. Well, we both do. She raves on about Flowdesk, but we are potentially looking at leveling that up to like a newer platform that's got more involved, like loads more things that we can do in there.
Yeah.
But Katie's like, no, I want to stay Flowdesk.
Well, I think as humans, we're such humans of habit, aren't we? Like we're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
That if we've done something one way and if we're like doing everything and it's working, it's like, why fix it if it's not broken? The one thing I say, not to scare people and not to just do my sales pitch, is that it is potentially going to break with this newer clientele coming in. And I think that's why CRMs that have been around, they've attracted a certain type of clientele who doesn't mind adopting technology. But I think now is the time for those who have probably been a little bit fearful of technology, that it's probably the right time to do it. But I always say the first step to take is just explore, research, and speak to people. Speak to the people on the other side and understand what the purpose of each CRM really is and which one's going to be most suited to you. Because there are CRMs, so for example, what works for your business may not work for a photographer, may not work for a decorator, because every business operates really differently. So one thing that we always say is that we've built Eternity solely for the wedding industry, because we believe that there are other CRMs that exist for small businesses that contain features that perhaps you don't need, are too complex for your needs, and then that's only going to confuse you and actually make you think, oh, why did I bother doing this in the first place? But also, secondly, it's going to contain the features, well, it's not going to contain some of the features that you wish you had when it really comes to, oh, I wish I could just send this straight to my client, or that my client could view this on their end. So it's about understanding what way does your business operate and what is the kind of CRM and the kind of systems that you need, and just speak to people. I think ultimately, as the wedding industry and being kind of, like you said, either solo business owners or very small teams, you don't have to be in this alone. It is worth just speaking to someone on the other side to try and understand how it's going to be best suitable for your own business, and also share your concerns. Like, we've got so many of our suppliers who use Eternity are probably those who have been in the industry for 5+ years. So you would assume that they have a bit of technology inertia, but actually for them, it's, oh, I'm hearing it from my clients.
That's absolutely it, is speaking to people, asking them what they're using, but also looking at, like, mapping out what a system might look like that you would need. I think that's really, really important. So how does a CRM like Eternity improve things behind the scenes for WED pros?
Absolutely. I always say Eternity is like the backbone of your business. So it's the first thing that you see when you wake up in the morning. It's where you communicate with your client. It's where you store all of your client information. So for us, our aim is to really make it just one place where you can go, as opposed to having one Excel sheet where you store all of your client data, then another reminder on your phone telling you to chase a client for a payment, then an email coming through with an inquiry that you need to then email back, something on Instagram. Right now, as wedding professionals, we're probably not very streamlined. We have so many different platforms and so many different systems.
So many different logins for us.
So many different logins and all these different passwords. And then they all have 2FA and all sorts of things. It's a nightmare. So for us, it's really about just having one place where you know your business is under control. So if you have a client that you speak to today, then you've got a meeting with them in 12 months' time for their wedding that's coming up. You know that you can refer back to your notes that already just sit on your system. If you've got a team who then also needs to manage different clients or needs to tap in and out, you know that you can just share it with them and you can see them on there. Any of your documents, any of your payment schedules. We're also working on an exciting feature of payment reminders, so that if I owe you a payment, then you can just automatically chase me. So you don't have to think about it. You can see it on your dashboard to see that I've been chased, but it's one less thing off of your mind, because I know that that's the bane of everyone's life, is chasing payments from clients. And we did a survey where we asked clients, how do you currently store your payment reminders? And they were like, oh yeah, I think my partners has it on their phone. But it's one of those things that shock horror that you get when you see an email or reminder come through saying, oh, by the way, outstanding payment of a couple grand, when you've not anticipated it, for a client is really scary, because as wedding business owners, we're running a business. As clients, they've got financial pressures, emotional pressures, they've got all of these different stakeholders to manage. So if you can make your life and their life easier in any way, it's just going to be better for everyone.
Yeah, and that was kind of my next question and point, is, so from the couple's point of view, how does having a system like Eternity in place affect their experience? I already know part of the answer to this. Like, what a selling point, as you know, to be a couple and to have, you know, everything will be in one place for you. Can they log in and access things?
Absolutely. So you have your own portal and they have their entirely different portal. So for them, they don't just manage their supplier information, they manage their checklist, their budget, their guest list, their itinerary. Everything for them sits on the other side. So for us, that was really important to build in and really differentiate us from other CRMs, because one of the biggest problems that CRMs has is the double-sided retention. So what I mean by that is, you may be using your CRM, but what's to say that your client's actually going to log in and use it as well? So for us, we've built it in a way where it's an experience for them. And
that's a built-in package. So say a WED Pro signs up, they get that in with it.
Absolutely. They get that in, and it's available for all of their clients. And their clients, as soon as you invite them to the platform, just get sent login details so that they can use it, they can browse it, they can get inspiration.
That's so professional. That would like level your business up, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, because it just shows that you're so integrated into the industry yourself that they can kind of trust you and rely on you in a completely different way. And I think, to your question around what do couples get out of it, for me, it sounds really cheesy, but I think couples have stopped enjoying the wedding planning process in recent years. And I don't know if that's sometimes due to social media, sometimes due to this cost of living crisis, putting pressure on your budgets, whatever it may be. But for us, the couple side and our purpose there is just to give them a fun experience so that they look forward to planning their wedding, as opposed to seeing it like, oh, another Excel sheet, something that's boring and black and white, and I don't know what to do with it, and this links into that cell, or whatever it is. Unless you are a Excel or Google Sheet whiz, planning a wedding is just an entire project management task in themselves. And as suppliers, we need to probably have a bit of empathy for couples going through that. And so that's where, for us, Eternity is just about, we always say for couples, it's making planning, wedding planning easy, efficient, and enjoyable.
That is such a good point. I think from a wedding business perspective, you're doing it day in, day out, which just rinse and repeat. But for a couple, and I experienced this when I was getting married, I felt quite out of the loop quite often with things. But
Yeah.
looking at it from like the other side, it's like, yeah, well, you know, businesses are doing this day in, day out, but
Yeah.
it really includes a couple, doesn't it? Like doing it this way.
Absolutely. And I think we always say one of the biggest pieces of advice that we always give everyone in the industry is just trust your suppliers. But I think we need to give couples a reason to trust the suppliers. So if they can see that level of professionalism and see that you're integrated in the industry, you don't need to keep reminding them to trust you, because they naturally and authentically will.
So you said a little bit earlier that you wanted to create a platform specifically for the wedding industry. What makes this CRM unique to the wedding industry, and why is it so vital?
Absolutely. So for us, it really comes down to the different features that we're implementing. So whilst a lot of them are similar when it comes to reminders or building in automation or potential scheduling that we have coming through, a big focal point for us is to work with the consumers to make sure that your couples at the end of the day are happy. And that comes with lots of different things, just from the terminology that we're using, just from the way that we want our user interface to look, where it is a bit more wedding friendly versus some of those larger CRMs that you might go on to, which actually just have jargon entirely throughout them. So one, through the interface, two, through the features. So even things like itinerary sharing is one that we're looking to introduce, which you couldn't actually get at other CRMs because they don't even have an itinerary functionality, for example, or they don't allow you to share it in the correct way. They don't allow you to collaborate. So for us, the focal point will always be that wedding sitting in the middle, and how do we get all of the other stakeholders to be a part of it to really work as an ecosystem. And that's how we differentiate ourselves as a wedding platform. But then equally, the data side of things, we're very conscious to be collecting the right data so that we can help drive businesses forward. So for example, the kinds of analytics that we're building in this year to show businesses will be, what are your most worked at venues? Who are your most worked with suppliers? What is the average wedding budget of your clients on the other side? These are things that, unless you sit down at the end of year to actually understand about your business, you're not going to do. And as much as we will say it, we then get to Christmas and mid-December and it's like, oh, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to switch off because I need it and you deserve it. So for us, it's really important that the data and the analytics that we're providing you as a platform will strategically help manage your wedding business, as opposed to just any other business, as well as just clients aren't going to always give you that piece of information, whereas we have enough data on the other side to be able to anonymize it and share it with you to say, well, actually, the average budget that we found of your clients this year was X. The average budget of our entire database was Y. Same with guest lists, so that you know, actually, am I pricing myself correctly? If I'm trying to be a luxury supplier, am I still only hitting that mid-market or vice versa?
I love data. It gives us into so much. And I know that some people, it's a bit boring, but
yeah,
if we don't have this data and we don't have the tracking and the analytics, how can we measure things and how can we then improve?
Absolutely. And I think as businesses, regardless of whether you're in the wedding industry or any industry, there is that moment of evolution with every business. You can't just operate your business the exact same for a decade and expect you to still be hitting the right revenues and targeting and attracting the right clientele. Every business needs to evolve. And I think in a space that we're currently in with the next generation and just the technical side of things and the bubble that we're currently in, we need to move with it and work with it, as opposed to cause that friction.
That's it. And we don't want any of you guys to get left behind. So this I would 100% recommend looking into a CRM, if not looking into Eternity, because it is literally a game changer. So how long has the platform been launched for now, did you say?
Yeah, so our platform's now been live about 3 months' time. So we're still fairly early on in our journey, and that's why we've got a bunch of different beta users that we try and collect.
Love that. And how's it going for users? This is what I want to know. Like, what's been the feedback from those people on the ground, like working with you guys?
Do you know what? Our feedback has been great. Our feedback's been that it's a game changer, and we see how it's helping businesses. On the flip side, you also for us, we're really open to just keep giving us negative feedback. So I have this bad habit where anytime a client or a supplier is like, oh, I love it, I'm like, great, what don't you love about it?
Like, but
Because,
what? Like, tell
yeah,
me.
exactly. But what's wrong? Because for us, we want to keep evolving and making sure that the business is changing. So for example, we love for suppliers to give us even the smallest bits of feedback. We had one last week where a supplier was like, can you swap these two fields around? Like, they're both useful, but the way that I use it, it just makes more sense for me to type it in this order instead. And then we took that back to the focus group and we said, yeah, let's do that. So it's things like even the smallest bits of feedback to even the largest feature changes that you want. For us as a business, even throughout our journey from day one, it's always just been about building a consumer focused business.
It sounds like you're literally nailing that. And I love that we are the same in our business, because it's all about you guys listening at home. How can we help you in your business? So I love that you're open to any sort of feedback.
Love it.
So, but anyone that is hesitant to adopt any sort of CRM system, what could you say to try and convince them to give it a try?
It sounds really mean, but it just goes down to something is going to break in the industry if we don't upgrade our systems with tech. But to make that sound more friendly, speak to me about it. Let's have a call, just you and I, because I want to fully understand your business and what it is that your needs are, and then show you our product. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is it looks really scary when you just have to join a platform and a CRM and just do it yourself. The stage of business we're in, with being consumer focused, we will hand guide you through the entire process and like hold your hand, make sure that you understand it, but also give you the chance to understand it on your own and test out with your clients and get that feedback. So for me, it would really be, if I was to convince you, it would say that times are changing, your consumers are changing, and so we need to get ahead of the game. But as a platform, as with Eternity, we want to do that with you, not just kind of give you a platform and then leave it in the dark.
And I think as well, just think about having access to all of that client information in one place. Your laptop. Sometimes in the past, when I used to be a pen to paper kind of girl, but we are transitioning into the digital age, which is, I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm like, right, I'm going to put all those leads in, I'm going to put all those new clients into there. And it makes things easier when I'm working on the go, because it's all on my laptop. Like when I'm following up with somebody or having a conversation with a new client, I know exactly what I've said previously. I know like where we are, like with the onboarding. It's all in one place. There's none of this like, oh, I've got to try and remember now. I know exactly where that notebook is with that information on my desk, but I'm not at my desk.
Exactly. And like one thing that really annoys me, I don't know if it's just my Google account and Google and Gmail that
you can't find emails, can you?
Nope. And you can't find attachments in emails. I really struggle with that, where I'll know I sent it, I'll know when I sent it, and I'll even search it. I'll try the to, the from, all of those different things. But it's so hard to find documents. And if we as business owners struggle, your client is definitely struggling. Even if they have a separate email address for their wedding, it's still going to be a bit of a nightmare. And so, yeah, like you said, on the go is really helpful. But two, just to find pieces of information, you know that everything for that client is stored in this one place without having to subscribe to a Google system or a Dropbox or whatever that looks like.
Just more logins to remember. Don't we spend half of our life trying to log in or trying to find something in emails?
Yeah, probably. I think that's probably quite an accurate stat.
Yeah, I suppose it is. And like CRM system, it takes away all of that frustration, all of that not knowing.
It takes all of that away. And also your clients are going to enjoy it. That's my biggest thing, is you're giving them an experience before they've even booked you, to be able to show your value and show your worth and charge exactly what you need to be charging.
That's it. That I could not agree more. Just having that for the end user of couples, what a way to elevate your business.
Absolutely.
I literally love it. So my last question is, what advice would you give wedding pros for wedding pros that are looking to streamline their business?
I would say, talk to me. Firstly, that would be a great piece of advice. But secondly, it would be really just understand your current systems that you're using as well. Because a lot of the time I've had conversations with suppliers who don't know the process that they fully use, and their process differs for everyone. So it's about understanding exactly what it is that you're doing right now, because only then can you see value in any CRM, because we'll be able to show you exactly where we can streamline which bits of your business. And also that helps us understand what kind of features you want to be building in the future. So for example, one that we've already heard of that would be on the radar for us is around the accounting side of things, where that's a massive piece of the puzzle. If we, over the next year and a half, can build that in to streamline your business even further, it's a big win for us. But all of that's only come from speaking to clients, where clients have explained, well, actually, I do this way because then my accountant needs to see it in this way. So you kind of need to look at the end-to-end user journey if you're starting to look at a CRM, to say, right, well, where do my inquiries on day one come from? And then actually right at the end, once I've already worked with a client, where do I ask them to leave reviews? Where do I ask them about feedback? And now all that stuff you can do in Eternity, but there may be other ways and other systems that you want to use and understand as well. So it's just about making sure you fully know what it is that you currently do, and then speak to me.
And how can people do that? How can people speak to you?
So we've got, I think then we can add it into the show notes, but we've got a Calendly link for me where you can just schedule in a demo for today, tomorrow, next week, whenever works for you, because I'm all about automations. So for me, instead of going back and forth on dates, I'll send you a Calendly. So you can use that. We also have a bunch of demo videos on YouTube where you literally see my face against our platform, talking through exactly what it is that we do. So if, for example, after this, you just want to learn a bit more before jumping on a call, you can have a look there. You can check out our website, check out our Instagram, check out our TikTok. We started doing TikTok, where we talk a bit more about all of the different features, as well as my email address. We can pop that in the show notes for us. Come at us from any point of social media, email, whatever it is, and we will get back to you as soon as possible.
I will pop it all in the show notes. So I hear that you've got a little offer for our listeners.
We do. So with the code WBH, you can get 25% off your first 12 months using the CRM. So it means that you can do a 21-day free trial as you like, jump on a call with us, and then it's fairly low commitment because you have the wonderful Wedding Business Hub at your side.
Amazing. Thank you so much for giving us an insight into your amazing CRM. I'm excited for any WED Pro to just hop on a call with you and see where this can go. This is literally a game changer for wedding pros and for the couples as well that you guys serve. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget, if you love the content that we're bringing you, to go and hit the subscribe or follow button, and also hop over and leave us a little review. We really do appreciate it. But until the next time, have a lovely day, evening, weekend, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the WED Pro podcast. Full transcripts of this episode, plus every other episode we have done, are available at www.theweddingbusinesshub.com/blogs. Thanks so much for listening. If you do have any questions about this episode or anything else at all, you can email us at info@theweddingbusinesshub.com. And if you are loving our episodes, which I know you are, make sure you hit the subscribe or follow button so you can stay updated with any new episodes that land. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.